So welcome everyone to everyone who's watching. Welcome to the fourth episode of the Growth Conference Fireside Chat, where I go one on one with all of the speakers. Today's guest is Sujan Patel. And before I introduce him, I want to say a lot of congratulations to you becoming a father soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I wanted to take this opportunity since I have you one on one now. Yeah, it's kind of hard to introduce this guy. So the biggest problem we had when drawing up communication for a conference was what should we put as a tagline on Sujan, because there's so much, like what would be the most captivating, because there's so much we could say about you. Yeah, so basically the main thing is I think you own and grow multiple companies. Can you give us a list, because of what are you working on right now in terms of companies?
Yeah. So the funny thing is, introducing what I do is like the hardest thing ever.
Yeah.
Which either means I'm doing something really, really wrong, or I need to work on my elevator pitch. So look, I've got a couple things going on. I run, keep it simple, I run Ramp Ventures, which is the owner of companies like Mailshake. We're a partner in Q, Narrow.io, Pick.co. There's probably a couple other ones I'm forgetting. Vala Norbert. We recently acquired that. Email finding tool. Again, I'm probably forgetting a couple of them that we work on that I just don't remember off the top of my head. I also, completely different company, I also run a growth marketing agency called Web Profits. But you know what I spend about 60-70% of my time on Ramp Ventures, the 30-40% of the time on the agency stuff. And so this is my second agency. Swore off consulting to build SaaS and get knowledgeable. So in that, I sold my first agency in 2013. Joined a startup as an employee, helped grow that company from 1 million to about 12-13 million ARR. And along the way, kind of bootstrapped Narrow.io and Mailshake. We found out building a company from scratch is really freaking hard. So like, let's go buy companies that are kind of at size. Yeah. And so that's kind of what we've been doing ever since.
So yeah, I'm not sure if everyone who's watching or going to watch is going to get this. So all the companies you do are SaaS companies, being software as a service and software companies. Is there like a common line that binds these? Like, what are your criteria when you're looking to acquire new companies, and are you using the same kind of tactics on both of them? Because like I can imagine it's kind of the same sometimes, because if they would be very different, I think it's kind of impossible to do this all in one lifetime.
Yeah. So there, we're looking for certain criterias that. And there's no secret sauce here. I'm not trying to be vague intentionally, but we're looking for certain criterias. Do they have enough customers? Like, do they have enough traffic? Looking at companies to acquire, like, is there enough traffic? Can we do anything better? But ultimately, we're looking at, like, high level is like, we're looking at companies we think we can 5 to 10x in the course of 3 years. So fairly aggressive goal. We're looking at companies. We've been doing this since 2015. And over every year, the methodology kind of updates. 2015, we were like, can we grow a business? Can I even run a SaaS company? I was doubtful if I could do it or not. And almost at the end of the year, I almost gave up, because Mailshake was previously another product called ConstantMarket.io, and we were like dying, like we failed, and so we had to pivot. But 2016 was like, okay, we've done this twice now. Let's see if we can do it again with the company we bought. And then 2017 is like, oh, we've done this like 4 times now. Let's buy bigger companies. And so now we're looking at companies that are kind of larger size, usually around 1 million ARR or so, and that we think we can grow. Most of the time, most companies I talk to, we can't grow. And it's that simple. You asked about, do these companies have a lot of things in common as a marketing strategy, similar, the same, or what are we doing? Yeah, they're fairly similar. My background, I've worked really hard to become a kind of a T-shaped marketer. I know a lot of different things, but my breadth is in organic organic traffic.
Yeah.
Well, at least that's what I thought. But really, where my like passion is in happy customers. Like giving a crap about my customers is something that like I deeply care about. Like so that's probably our biggest thing. So we look at companies that have word of mouth potential and that we can grow using organic traffic. And as a result,
actually, those happy customers reminds me of a story I read about you, that I read somewhere that for a certain point in time, not so long ago, you were actually the main responsible for doing customer support for Milkshake customers.
Yeah. I still, so yeah, I mean, probably August or September of last year, I stopped being the main point of contact. For some of these companies, I am still doing support. So pick.co, we've got about 500 or 600 customers and a few hundred, a lot less than that, probably 20-30% active customers, meaning they're actually using the tool how we want them to. I'm doing support for that. Like that's me. We don't get that many tickets. What we do get is a lot of good feedback. And when someone churns, it's like, I want to know why. Like, look, it hurts my feelings sometimes. And I'm not gonna lie, it does hurt. Like your product sucks. Somebody emailed me the other day. It's like, I don't know why you're emphasizing a custom logo. I don't have a freaking custom logo. I'm like, sorry, dude, but everybody else wants that thing, you know? And so obviously you got to say it nicer, but it helps you grow some thick skin and build things your customer or audience wants. So, you know, that's kind of me. Right now at Mailshake, I do customer success. So I'm helping customers be more successful with the tool. So whether that's reviewing their emails, writing their emails sometimes, like checking out their campaigns, giving them ideas, jumping on a call, whatever. I usually end up touching or engaging with about 15 or so customers a week.
Yeah. Well, that explains a lot. Like sometimes I ask myself, how does this guy keep going? But if happy customer, like from what you're telling me right now, is that like happy customers are what keep you going. So then I can imagine that you are willing to put in all the time and the effort that you are doing the way you are right now to get those happy customers. And I think it also makes, like, it kind of explains why you're doing it so well, like why you were so good at growing these SaaS companies. Because what I think a lot of growth marketers and stuff get wrong is, like, of course, we all want to be data driven and we all look at the analytics and the data to see, but the data itself, like the quantitative data that shows us why something happens, like it shows us what happens. So it shows that someone is churning, but only if we have direct line with the customer, we know why he's churning. So that's pairing the qualitative insights with the quantitative insights. And actually that explained, like, this is kind of eye-opening for me to understand how are you able to do what you're doing all the time. But talking about metrics, don't you like drown in metrics? Like if you have like 5 companies, you have to keep track of, like, how do you know where everything is going and where you want everything to go, how you're gonna set goals, and how do you keep track of everything, basically?
Yeah, so I actually don't draw. Like I actually have a very, very simple metric or metrics that I follow for each of my companies. One of the things we're instituting, before I jump into like the metrics I follow, one of the things we're instituting is every quarter at a company level, the team focuses on one metric to improve, to work on, to rally around. So whether we're making product improvements, we're working on marketing initiatives, whatever. And then within that, each team has their own metrics. So I, as the owner of these companies, I care about a couple of different things. One is the number of net new customers per month. I look at how many people are we engaging with per month. The more engagement I found, so like word of mouth for a lot of these companies is the biggest channel of growth. So what I found is engaging with more customers directly attributes to more word of mouth. That's the biggest thing I found. And that's not just me engaging, it's like the company engaging. Number 3 is the number of brand mentions per month. So how many references Mailshake gets per month, Pick gets per month. We use a number of tools for that. Brand
Can
20,
you give an example? Yeah.
so Brand 24 gives us like the reach that we have per month. And we've been tracking this since day one, so we can see it going up. We use BuzzSumo to track the number of like mentions, which is referencing a reference in an article, not like tweet or social media. Brand 24 is great for social references. And then we use like Ahrefs or Moz to track the number of actual links. But my like North Star metric, because we're predominantly growing these companies off of organic efforts, is the brand mentions. Because that means if we get more and more brand mentions, the better we're doing. And I'll give you an example. Well, not an example, but like we're at Mailshake, we're at around like 100 right now. So our goal for 100 was by the end of this year. We started the year with 30 per month. So we're kind of moving really, really quickly. And that's a way for us to gauge how we're doing, how our marketing efforts are doing. Now, you'd think like traffic, conversion rate, churn rate, those are things that I would give a crap about. And I do, but those are not leading metrics that those are input to an output of net new customers. Conversion rate for Mailshake, we simply don't like, I want to keep an eye on it, but it's not something I'm going to like, if it tanks one day, I'm going to drop everything and figure it out. Because if it tanks, it's likely due to, did we screw something up technically? Because then it's like a go fix it type of thing. Another thing is that I don't have enough traffic to go and improve it a lot of the times, right? As a SaaS company or an early stage company, you might not have enough traffic to do to affect your conversion rate via quantitative tests like A/B testing or messaging and whatnot. So like if you're like looking at that metric and you can't affect the change of that metric, you're wasting your time, in my opinion.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. A metric has to be behavior changing. Like if it changes, then it has to be, you have to act on the changes that it gives you. If you still behave the exact same way, independently of whether it changes or not, then it's not a good metric to act on. So enough about all of your companies. Many founders that I know, that I personally know since the 1.5 years I've been doing this, they were marketers first, and I know for a fact that you were a marketer first too. So basically, how did you get started with doing all these kinds of crazy marketing kind of things on the internet?
Yeah, so I've been trying. So the thing, you see like it's always the iceberg. You see the tip of the iceberg. It looks super successful. It's awesome when you read about the success stories. But I've been trying for almost 10 years, trying to build something that's a productized service or product, whether it's or a business that isn't in consulting. Ever since 2010, I've tried affiliate models, lead gen models. I've tried e-commerce drop shipping. We've had a product when I was running Single Grain. My co-founder worked with authors and people who are like internet personalities or influencers, what you call them now, to build a product for them, whether it's an ebook or whatever. So those types of things are things I've been trying for a while. And that company actually worked out really well, where we spun it off the agency. But there's been like probably a couple dozen failures. And so what I realized is that as a marketer, I have a lot of weaknesses. I have a lot of things I don't know. I don't know about. Exactly. So I didn't know how to run a product. I don't know how to I don't know how to make a product. I know the outcome I want the product to have. But if I go tell a developer, hey, go build me this, they're going to build something the way I want it to work. I'm not always a customer. I need to go and build okay, I want to solve this problem. Here's some ways to do it and the UX and flow that could work. And then let's go build it based off of some validation or whatever. Yeah. That methodology is something I wasn't aware of or experienced in. So long story short, I realized there's a skill gap as a marketer, so I started to improve that. And that's kind of why when I sold my agency, I joined a company so I can learn the operations of a software business, the how to work with product engineering. Now, as a consultant, I work with many people doing this, but as an outsider, it's not the same as doing it for yourself. How to talk to customers, how to manage customer support, like all the nitty gritty outside of marketing that it takes to run a successful company. And I thought I kind of gave myself 5 years to do this, to learn all this stuff. It took me 6 months before I got bored. I was like, let me just try this. And so like, what I mean by this is like, I'm not trying to show off. It took me 6 months to learn a bunch of stuff. It took me 6 months to realize actually the best way to learn this stuff is to try doing it yourself. And that's when we, I was like, I have an idea. Mailshake started off as like, I don't think this is going to be revolutionary, but this is something that we can grow. And my wife was getting her MBA at the time, and I was like, look, why don't I get my MBA? I'm going to go invest 30 grand into this business, and let's just see if it works. That was my MBA fund for myself. Self-educated, great. I guess. Yeah.
There's a relevant question popping up right now. So Patrick asks like, hey, Sujan, talking about T-shirt marketer, how did you find out the skill you really wanted to go in depth to, and what channel expertise is most valuable these days? I think they're two separate questions kind of, but two good ones.
Yeah, so great questions. So, I think if you're trying to get into like being a T-shaped marketer, I think you have to look at like, what are your skill sets? Like use like Strength Finder, or like, what's your background in? In my opinion, there's 5 main channels. There's SEO and content marketing kind of fit into the same thing, organic.
I agree.
Are you really good at like referrals and word of mouth? That's a hodgepodge of other skills. You probably aren't a marketer if you do that. Are you good at outbound sales, or like just reaching out to people? It's not even a marketing skill, it's kind of a sales skill. There's like, are you good at like biz dev and relationships where you can get like other people to like rally around doing something? So like, here's an example. Can I get 50 people that I know in my network to promote my tool, my software? Is that where I shine? I don't know. Ask yourself that question. Or this magical other, which really means you don't have a skill set in any specific thing. So figure that out. I would look at as like, what's your anchor channel that you think you can grow on? And that might be, I didn't mention advertising. So there's 6. So 5th one is advertising. The 6th one is other. And other could just be like a magical channel of like a hodgepodge of things. What I would look at is like, being a T-shaped marketer means you have to continue to learn. So I use the Buffer has this really awesome like image where I just print it out for every one of my team members, including myself. And I write down like where my skills are and a thing I want to learn this quarter. And so right now I'm learning about customer success, talking to customers, what's the metrics to go after. I've talked and interviewed other people who are customer success people at other companies to know like what they're doing. And at some point I'll hire somebody to do that full time. So these types of things are kind of how I try to keep up to date. Look, marketing is going to change 5-10 years from now. Growth is going to change. So you better jump on that T-shaped outline and start learning 1 or 2 things every couple of weeks or months or years.
Yeah. So, basically what I like a lot about you, to catch on up on this, is your focus on value creation and transparency, just in general. So as I understood it right from what I know about you, is that you started out in SEO and you put a lot of value in content marketing. What role does the whole content and value creation story play for you in the whole marketing strategy you've built on everything?
Yeah, so I think biggest thing is brand awareness and brand. So brand is this like new thing for software companies, software marketers or marketers now, right? Like it's this what's not new for advertisers or big companies. Like if you're Ford, like you're probably spending money on your brand. But if you're a software company, your brand wasn't necessarily the thing that was the thing that drove your metrics, right? But now a brand, like there's so much saturation in the space. Every single tool, product, service, whatever it is, there's saturation. So how do you stand out? You have to have some sort of a recognizable brand or like some angle that you're different, right? Like my personal angle of how I stand out from like the Rand Fishkins of the world, Neil Patel, of the world and many other awesome marketers is that like I try to be like relatable and I try to be like, here's exactly how to do it, and I'm in the weeds with you guys, which is one thing I really like to do. That's my personal unique angle. But so brand is really important. Providing value to others with and educating people. That's the third thing, is educating people. But providing value to others is really, really important. So those are the three things: content and the roles they play in. Now, obviously, doing good content marketing helps you with traffic. It helps you get more awareness and all these other things. But brand adding value and education is the things I measure.
Yeah. You mentioned Brand Fishkin, the guy from Moss, for the guys who don't know, and Neil Patel, who is, if I'm correctly, your cousin.
Yeah. Yeah.
So did he play a role in you getting into marketing, or what's the, because the first time I ever saw your name on the internet, I was like, are these guys brothers or what's the story there?
Yeah, so Neil back in 2002-ish got me into SEO. And he's like, you got to check out this. Like, we were both in high school at the time. And he's like, dude, you got to check out this this internet thing. I'm like, what's the internet? Like, I mean, not what's the internet, but like, what do you mean? You can make money online? And it sounds like this like make money, get rich quick scheme. And he's like, no, check out this SEO thing. And he's like, I could teach you if you want to do this. And Neil's idea of teaching is like sending me 3 articles. And at the time, the articles were really fucking vague.
Yeah, that's something about him. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but like Neil's really, in my opinion, his teaching style is like, I'm going to throw you in the deep end and you're going to figure it out. And then like, if you get stuck, I'll probably just help you. So that was what he did. And it was hard. Like, he didn't really help me. He just told me stuff. And that helped me learn the hard way, the right way. And I always like
the best way, I think.
Which is the only way, right? I think that's the, like, you can, some people, and I don't think many entrepreneurs are like this. Some people will learn, read a book, read an article, watch a video, and they'll like, I know about this. Some people like, I'm going to try to do this. What do I need to know? Or what do I need to read to be able to do this? And then I'm going to do it. That's how I work. And that's how I train my team and whatnot. So one of the things I learned early on in my career is the value of educating people. And I'll give you the selfish version of why it's beneficial to educate people. Because you have to know the topic well enough to explain it to somebody else so where they can get it. And every time you do that, you get better at the thing that you're teaching.
Yeah. For example, my favorite studying method while I was at university was I studied with other people and I would basically teach them what I learned, and I just knew it so much better after that. I have another question of Stéphane Debois from Survey Anyplace, SaaS software. I actually worked with him in the same building a time ago while I was at Salesflare. And he says, yeah, hey, we all know the typical referral campaigns, like the Dropbox one. It's the original one, basically. And he says, however, in B2B, this type of incentives turn out to be less effective. So what is your take on, what is your process on how to stimulate referral and word of mouth?
Yeah, so awesome question. I'm actually going to be recording a video on Friday about this exact topic. So I'll give you some of the notes I've prepared already. So look, B2B word of mouth and referrals is hard. Look, there's awesome tools. Like I know, like you guys interview like Savas from Viral Loops. Tools like yeah. So there's tools, but there's a lot of things that come before the tool, especially for B2B. So this is specific for B2B. The Dropbox referral word of mouth thing doesn't work unless you validate your customers are willing to refer you.
Yeah, that's Dropbox actually did that. They saw in the customer base they had at that point. What they had in common was they had a lot of signups from people who were telling other people, and that's when they started experimenting with it.
Exactly. So validation is the key early on. So a couple things that stimulate. So word of mouth and referrals are two different things. And referrals is a part of word of mouth, first and foremost. That's how I look at it. So a referral system is one part of what you can do. So educating the market. So, I'll give you an example, very concrete. At Mailshake, we create one ebook every year. We try to do more, but it takes us like 6 months to create something, so we can't actually do a lot of it. That helps us get in front of customers. That's the reason. So people aren't willing to say like, oh, Mailshake is an awesome tool, but they are saying like, this is an awesome guide. Guess who wrote it? We did. We get the credit. Our brand mentions go up every single time. If you hear crazy background, it's because there's like thunder and lightning behind me. So it's not that what I'm saying is that awesome. It's just there's crazy. Or it could be. Who knows? All right, so,
literally knowledge bombs dropping out of the sky.
Yeah. So first and foremost, validate that people are willing to do it. So you can use content and using that as a catalyst to get more word of mouth. Number 2 is ask your customers to share your product. So get in front of their face. Don't ask them, are you willing to join? Not just yet. Are you willing to join my referral program? Because lots of people will say yes. And then when you have one, very little people will actually do something about it. What you should do is ask people, everybody, at some point, especially when they hit the aha moment, or when they hit the aha moment twice, to share or spread the word. So at Narrow.io, we tested this. Narrow, and we learned a lot of lessons from our companies, and we apply it across the board, which is a huge time saver. So Narrow.io, we tested this using Intercom. To every one of our customers who had been with us for 3 or more months, we said, hey, how's your experience using Narrow? Would you mind doing us a favor and tweeting about it? And I think it was like 10 or 12% of people did. First of all, then we changed it to people who are successful using Narrow, meaning Narrow is a way to build your Twitter following. It's an automation tool. So people who have gained 1,000 or more Twitter followers to share it. That was a smaller number of people, but that number then went up to 20 to 25%, somewhere there. This was 2 years ago, so I forget the exact numbers. So more people net increase changed it. So like, oh, this is awesome. So what we did was in the top right of our dashboard, anytime you go after 1,000 increase in followers or more, you see this like love using Narrow, tweet about it. And now we got a system where consistently people are doing this, and we measure this simply by the number of people who are willing to tweet about it. And then on the other end, the number of people who signed up from word of mouth. So the best way to track that is the undoubtable way is when you sign up on your sign up form, you ask, how'd you hear about us? And measure that quarterly or annually to see if what changes that have happened. So that's one thing. Now you'd think all these people, 17, 20% of people are like willing to share about us. You'd think a referral program would be awesome. So we launched a referral program. Crickets. Nobody freaking joined. Nobody cared. They cared enough. They liked the tool enough to share it, but not join an incentive program. So what you want to do now is, if that happens to you, so you validated people are willing to share, is now do customer surveys of like, what type of incentive is the right thing? So you might find that money isn't the right incentive. You might find that 1 free month isn't the right incentive. You might find that like concierge or getting on a call or some exclusivity is the right thing. So test out different offerings. I will tell you, everybody says they want a referral program. Everybody says they want an affiliate program. Very unlikely those actions net things. 95% of affiliates don't do crap. So this is another point, is do it at the right time. So Narrow, when we did it, we had 600 or 700 customers, too small. Mailshake, we have 12,000 customers. If you look at if 1% of people would join a referral program, that's a big number. So you have to do the referral program, affiliate program at the right time. The other thing is, you also have to treat it like a marketing channel. Do rough estimates. So if 1% of people join our referral program at Mailshake, is that number big enough? That's 120 customers. Let's just estimate each of those customers generate 1 new customer. So now I'm instituting an idea that would generate me 120 new customers. Compare that to the other things that I'm doing, and hell no, that would not be anywhere near the customers that we get from doing not anything. It wouldn't be anything different. So you have to compare word of mouth and referral initiatives to other things. Now, that's why we don't have a referral program yet. I'll say yet, but that's why we do. I'm doing customer success, because I found engaging, offering customers help being there one-on-one, doing webinars and things like that, actually has contributed higher to word of mouth than a referral program is, because I can touch over 100 customers a month, and everybody there, even if I'm helpful or not, they're like, wow, I got to talk to somebody. They're a real human being. And then, added bonus, I'm the founder. So it helps there too.
Yeah, it's
100 happy customers versus 120 people in my referral program. 100 happy customers wins.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I do it at Mailshake.
It was an awesome answer to an interesting question. We have already another question from Jetty. He says, like, how do you decide what SaaS to focus on, to build on, to acquire regarding the competition? So, for example, do you care that there's, for example, 20 other tools doing the same thing? And this actually kind of adds up with a question I also had. Like, when I first stumbled upon Mailshake, like, I ended up using Mailshake because it's awesome. It's awesome user experience and everything. But my first thought was, oh man, another email automation tool, like, but because there were so many already. So I think the question is like, how do you decide that? Do you take into account how the competitive landscape already looks? Yeah.
Hang on 1 second.
Yeah, don't die.
I was laughing while drinking water.
Yeah, that's a horrible idea.
Bad idea. Sorry about that.
No
All right.
problem.
All right, let me catch my breath. All right, so
Take your
yeah,
time.
so there's no doubt that the companies I have are me 50 tools, meaning there's 50 freaking tools, competitors in this space. I only care about acquiring companies or working on companies that have a distinguishing factor that can help it stand out or have a unique brand. For example, Voila Norbert was the same exact thing as like 5 other tools out there, but they had a brand. Find That Lead. Well, Find That Lead actually came out later.
Yeah.
They just have a good following. So like, props to Gerard, who like has built this awesome following. Yeah, he's built a community, right? That's his thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Hunter.io has built a lot more products. So like, there's all these things, right? So first and foremost, you have to figure out a way to make your company unique. So we are expanding the product offering to make it more and more unique and more robust. So we're going to be introducing a lot more tools and things like that. But the big thing is their unique factor was the brand. They got a lot of traffic, a loyal audience, and a lot of word of mouth, meaning you can't steal or take away word of mouth. There's no way around it. You can build on top of it. So that's one thing. But yeah, having a brand, having one unique thing that makes it stand out, helps you stand out, is a way to win. Now, remember I said, like, we started this thing as Ramp Ventures as an iterative process. I started Mailshake as a way to validate my execution ability as an MVP, or my MBA, while my wife was actually getting her real MBA. And so I didn't care if it was a me 50 tool. I don't care. Now, that's going to be reflective of the ROI or the revenue if we sell or growth. It's going to be like it. People do leave us for competitors, right? Like there's no way around that. So
and it strikes you in the heart.
Yeah. If I had to do it again, I would come up with something a bit more unique. I would probably do it in the next companies we acquire are trying to be a bit more unique. But the big value add of starting a company in a space where there's other competition is product market fit, solve, checkbox. And that's the single hardest thing for a company to do. So if there's a defined market, you can essentially you can skip that phase. And then you have to ask yourself the questions like, am I actually solving the needs for my customer in this market segment?
Yeah, I've obviously been through kind of the same thing while working at Salesforce. It was also the gazillion CRM. So just off the marketing for a bit, like what I have a lot of trouble imagining with you is like, what does your day look like your typical day? What do you do from waking up till going to sleep, if you do sleep? But
yeah, so here's the thing, like, I've got a really awesome team that I work with. I've got amazing co-founders that first and foremost deal with a lot of stuff that I am not experienced in or I'm not an expert in. or if I were to do it, put it simply, if I were to do it, it would take me 10 times that amount of time that they take. So my co-founder for Ramp Ventures is an ex-VC business guy. He taught himself how to code and is now like a really awesome project manager. So he manages all of our devs. I communicate to him. And if you see the communication, mostly phone or Slack, it's like I sound like an idiot half the times because I'm like, Bob, I've got this idea. I've talked to 150 customers. I validated it. This is something we can build, a new idea. We're going to build a new product, whatever. He actually turns it into something that developers can build on top of and manages the execution. So first and foremost, it is the team that helps me do the things that I'm good at, which is marketing, talking to customers. Yep. So my typical day is I answer a lot of emails. I talk to my inbox is centralized. I got all my emails forwarding to one thing. So I'm in the inbox all the time. As an individual contributor these days, my contribution is to customer success at Mailshake. My contribution at Web Profits is managing the strategy for our clients. So I sync up with with the marketing team that manages clients once a week and sometimes twice a week, and just make sure every single client we're doing the right things. Every single day is different. I spend a lot of time on the phone, connecting with new people. Like I just got off the phone with the folks at Duck Soup. We're talking about some co-marketing, whatever. So I'm always talking to like new people, learning from other founders, and so I spend about 20% of my time connecting with people, whether they can help learn something new, just connect with people who I admire, or like helping people. So like later on, I'm going to be talking to Nicole, who used to be the inbound community person, and she's just like, hey, can I pick your brain on some stuff? I'm like, sure. Here's my invite. Here's my calendar link. Pick, of course. Shameless plug there. Let's just chat. So 20% of my time is there. I answer emails a lot. I check in with every single person on the team, usually once a day. Most of the time I'm checking in with customer support because they have questions that I can answer, because a lot of the questions aren't like, hey, how do I use this feature? Or like, what's this feature about? It's like, hey, I sent a bunch of emails out, or I'm doing this. What's the right approach for this? And it's kind of takes a marketer's take. Usually Thursday, Friday, I block out no meetings, nothing. And I kind of just sit in front of like a blank computer screen. I'm like, what are the problems I want to try to solve this week? And try to be, as an individual contributor, try to contribute one thing every week that I can poke at. So like last week, I'll give you an example. I dug into like how people are using Mailshake, and I like looked through like 1,800 responses and like looked at their like really dug in. I spent probably like 10 hours just looking at the data. My eyes hurt after this spreadsheet. And I put together some things. I'm like, okay, this is interesting. This is a segment that we don't go after. Here's features for this segment. And, I just like didn't really have anything planned. And I came out with some interesting notes about what we can potentially build.
Is this also when you write content? Because you also write a lot of content, but I didn't hear that now. So.
Yeah. So the reason is that I backed off a lot of content creation. I used to write content, like a piece of content every day. Like first thing or last thing.
Like in a piece, what's a piece? Like how many words?
So, well, I wouldn't actually write every day. I would actually record an audio file. I start every blog post recording an audio file of me talking about the topic. And then I have a transcription person transcribe it. And they put in yellow things that need more detail. In red, complete gibberish, which happens, right? So 15 to 20 minutes of audio is like 3,000 to 4,000 words. It's a lot of words.
Awesome.
So every single one of my articles start off with that. And then usually on Sunday mornings is when I write or create presentations. So I'll take all those like gibberish and some of those ideas I just kill. And then usually that will result in 2 or 3 blog posts I'm writing. So I'll take the transcriptions and actually turn it into something that's digestible.
Yeah. I actually just discovered a new tool that makes it very easy to transcribe audio files. I don't remember the name right now, but if you want, I can look it up and send it to you after.
Yeah, no, I think
Then,
that'd be cool. I don't use tools, by the way, because when a person listens to my notes, the cognitive ability to comprehend what is good and bad beats the productivity of a tool.
Yeah, that's priceless, because then you can actually gauge immediately like what is understandable, what resonates, what doesn't, what needs more. Yeah, totally right.
And these days I'm only writing 2 or 3 articles a week. So I used to write
only 2 or 3 a week. Wow. I have to tell you, man. When I moved from sales rep to doing growth marketing now for different projects in an agency, I really have a hard time finding time to write my content. So yeah, it was one of my colleagues who's actually sitting across of me now actually also has a question that he just posted. He says, from the thousand of things that you have in your knowledge repository, very nice word, what is the one thing we should look forward to learning from you at the Growth Conference? So do you have any idea what you want to talk about already? Because we haven't actually discussed this yet.
Yeah, no, we should. That's a good question. And thank you for inviting me without having a topic in mind. I
was just like, he can just pick on the day what he feels most talking about is going to be valuable. We can also just like broadcast this thing, and it will also be a lot of value.
Sure.
In the meantime, you can network with all the people.
So I have a very specific thing I've been working on building around, and it's a customer driven growth and customer driven growth framework. So that includes word of mouth, feedback loops that you can include in any part of a company. I'm going to kind of share, like, I did a presentation late last year on like customer driven growth, where I shared really high level, like the 5 or 10 things I do regularly, which is weekly. But what I'm going to go into is like, I've built upon that, especially after the fact that I've been doing customer success, and I have a very customer facing role. And so I'm going to share kind of the daily things that a founder should do, a marketer should do, and kind of stages of companies. So like, we've actually implemented some of these things at larger software companies as well through my agency. So really all about getting customer feedback across the organization. So marketing team, customer support, success, sales, and most importantly, engineering. And so at a larger company, that means getting the team together. At a smaller company, that means like the founder doing it, or maybe a marketing person doing it, or whatever, but getting that feedback loop going. So when you have this, like, so one, what your customers want, and you can build a roadmap based off something they actually give a crap about, not something that is intangible, and also how to do that with metrics in place. So for example, when we get customer feedback, we actually know the LTV and potential revenue for that feature or functionality. So I don't want to go into the weeds on that just yet. It's
don't give it away. Don't give it all away. Just
you gotta come to the Growth Conference to see that stuff or hear that stuff.
Yeah, awesome. Then I have some questions myself. Like, first of all, this is a question I ask basically anyone. I also, when I meet someone on the train or anything, what books are you reading right now, if any?
Yeah, so right now I'm reading a lot of books on parenting and fathering. So probably not applicable to a lot of people, but something really interesting. I live in the U.S., obviously. Americans are kind of consumerist, and there's a lot of good things and bad things about being an American. I'm reading about how to raise a child to be an entrepreneur. I'm reading about how Danish people and French people raise children. It's like obscure.
Why
right?
Danish and French people?
So apparently the Danes are the happiest people on earth for like the last 100 and something years. And it's all about like, yeah. So exactly. So like how to get my child to be that happy, right? I don't know if it's really interesting. It's a good read, but in business books and things like that, I just finished reading Principles by Ray Dalio.
I'm reading that right now.
Really, really awesome book.
I think it's going to be the new Bible to my life. It's like,
yeah, it's a tough one. Like, it's I always find myself, I always reread books, So like I'm like pulling up. I actually don't read. So clear disclaimer: I listen to audiobooks because I can't absorb. I can't. I have a weird eye disease, and so I can't read or look at computers or like look at things for too long. It hurts my eyes. So I actually one of the ways I've been able to become so productive is that I can only limit my computer time to 6 to 8 hours a day. So I have to really
does it include like devices, also your cell phone and your or just computers?
Technically it should, but no, just computers. So I actually spend, like, to be honest, I spend 4 hours in front of a computer. The rest of the time I'm what I call quote unquote working, which is talking to customers and networking and connecting with people. It's usually on the phone or I'm on my device. But yeah, I need to limit my time. So I listen to a lot of audiobooks. I do that at the gym. I do it while driving or traveling on the airplane or train or whatever. I'm rereading a couple other books. I'm rereading Charlie Munger's book on the complete guide to like managing wealth. So Charlie Munger is like Warren Buffett's right-hand man. It's a really good book.
Yeah, true.
So
okay, I'm gonna order that one.
So I'm really all about managing my time and managing wealth, right? So like those are the two things I really want to get much better at, so that I hopefully I can turn what I'm doing now into things that can pay me dividends or multiples long term. Kind of like I am taking a page out of like Warren Buffett's book. How he has multiple companies. Geico, his company Geico generates so much cash on a monthly basis that he can use that cash to invest into stocks and bonds and whatever that pays dividends on stuff. Now I don't have I'm like 3 commas away from that guy, right? I don't know what his net worth is, but like must be at least 3 commas. I'm trying to figure out how I can do that in my own way.
Yeah. Do you listen to audiobooks on increased speeds if you're saying you're all about managing your time?
Yeah, I can't listen to things at 1x. It's too slow. They talk so fucking slow. It's usually
how are you up now? Like I'm at 2x right now, but yeah, in the beginning I couldn't even do 125. But your brain adapts very quickly. It's amazing to see.
1.5 to 2x depending on the author, depending on the reader.
Yeah, true.
Anything over 2x, I can't comprehend anything. But here's the thing about a book. You know how they say like you get the subliminal knowledge? So I have my active learning and I have passive learning. So active knowledge I want to get from a book is maybe 2 to 3 things that I can apply now. The passive stuff is like things that kind of go in my brain that I don't even think I know, like the knowledge that like is there that makes me quote unquote wiser, but not like smarter today. And what that ends up doing is like, I remember something I learned there. I should probably reread that book. Something I've learned from Naval Angel List is like he goes and rereads books all the time. Like, so I want to just get like the general message across to see if I'm interested in an audiobook, and then I'll read further. And if I read the whole thing, I might go reread it again 2 years later. Like I've read Good to Great and Great by Start by Jim Collins like 3-4 times, or listened to.
Yeah.
Amazing book, right?
But I haven't read it.
Yeah. So that's kind of my book knowledge. And I read a lot of blog posts. And also, again, I don't read. I add them to Pocket. And so in Pocket, I have a really interesting like systemized learning process. So anytime I find an article that's awesome, I never read it then and there. Unless it's like amazing. I add it to Pocket and I add a tag based off the thing I want to learn. So it's like retention, or it's top of the funnel, or whatever things and knowledges I want to learn. And then I'll listen to it in a robotic Siri voice. I hate it, but on Pocket, you can actually listen to it through Siri. And so that's what I do, yeah.
Yeah, I do kind of the same thing, like up until the point where I save things to Pocket and I tag it and I reread it later. Although I have to say, I haven't made it too much of a habit yet to do it on fixed points. It's more, I have to work on that. But yeah, the it for you is kind of interesting. I didn't actually know that. We have a new question now. I know we should almost start and go finish before we go up to the hour, but it's packed with value. So So the question of Sushil Krishna is what are your 3 points when you have to pick a marketing tool? So basically what I think he's trying to say, if you have a goal you want to achieve, something you want to get done, and you want to pick a marketing tool for it, there's so much stuff all the time. So what are like the things you focus on in picking? For example, this is actually a question for my own. What CRM are you using right now?
So at the agency, we use Pipedrive. Agency, we have one salesperson and me who are like involved in sales. So we use Pipedrive. It's great for small teams. Look, I set it up a long time ago, and if I know like Salesforce is better. I've talked to Jerome, like it's an awesome tool, but the pain point to switch is too high. It's not worth
I totally get it.
We use, so like here's my take on tools and how to pick tools, because it's very, very simplistic. If you have a problem, figure out the best tool to solve the problem that could help you for the next year. So when we started Mailshake, we were using MailChimp for their drip campaigns. We've moved over to Drift now to do all of our onboarding because it has more usage-based email triggers that you can send out. But in a year or two, we might move to something else. So I have a problem now. What's the easiest tool I can use to solve things? When you start thinking about your problem, you'll find that there's probably a couple things that only work for you. I also don't overcomplicate a simple decision like choosing a marketing automation tool. Let's say you're a company and you use Salesforce for your CRM, and you use Segment for some tracking and data. Well, technically, if you use Salesforce, there's probably only a couple of marketing automation tools that will actually work for you. It's simple. You have 2 or 3, right? So you're limited. But when you don't have those limitations, you generally like, I want to use this latest and greatest tool. Like, you'll see why we don't have live chat on our software, because live chat on our tools is because we just don't have the resources to man that just yet. We don't know how to leverage that just yet. Well, we haven't figured out what we're going to do to leverage that. We know how and ideas, but so we don't even care. But what we chose Drift because we know we can expand to that when the time comes. Yeah. And we chose Drift over Intercom because of price. Intercom is like 3 times more expensive.
Yeah, and I also like Drift's marketing and its branding better actually, but that's personal preference for me. They're both awesome tools. We use Intercom at Salesfair, but I always had a little bit more preference for just Drift, the way it's been branded and how they do everything. I had another question that was popped into the event page that I thought was pretty interesting. So you build a lot of organic reach on blogging and also guest blogging. The question is, what type of blogs do you get the best qualified traffic from for guest blogging? So if you guest blog somewhere, what type of blogs do you get the most qualified traffic for your SaaS businesses?
The most relevant ones. The relevancy trumps everything, right? I blogged on like HubSpot, and I blogged on like I forgot the name, like some small little like sales person blog, right? I forgot the name. It's in analytics somewhere, but like HubSpot, you would think, man, that's going to bring you a shit ton of traffic. A little bit, like maybe like 5 or 10 visitors, like maybe probably a few hundred visitors the first month, and then like maybe 5 or 10 visitors a month after that from that one blog post. That little tiny sales blog sent an email to their little tiny list, which is 25,000 people, and that generated 3,000-4,000 visitors to our site. So relevancy is a big thing. What they do with the blog post is even bigger. So make sure you have that, you've got that locked down, and you understand what that actually is what they're gonna do. And so every time I do a guest post, I'm like, hey, are you gonna email your list this? We'd love to do it, and I prioritize who is gonna email their list, right? But and also relevancy, right? Like, and one last thing on this topic, I think a lot of people forget the fact that a guest post can actually drive organic traffic long term. So here's an example. If we're going to write for, we're writing for, I think, Clara Labs soon, or X.AI, one of those 2 companies. I forgot the people. I forgot which one accepted our guest post from us. Guess what we're going to write about? Something that's related to what the heck they're about, right? So
Of course.
and then also if we can pull it off, something that we are about as well, right? So something that they're known for because that's where they're authoritative. And more importantly, if they have rankings for certain keywords, we're going to write something on that topic and then an angle that could potentially fit what we do. Now that makes our job of coming up with topics really, really, really hard. But it makes the ROI from a guest post very, very high.
Yeah. Okay, I have one more question before I let you go because it's kind of getting out of hand time-wise. I don't mind, but maybe. Or maybe two questions.
All right,
so you mentioned that.
So
then we're gonna go with what are your goals going forward from here? Like your goals in both personally and just everything. Yeah, like your work-life balance, but also your businesses. And what are you looking to learn next? Because that's something I really got from you, that you were always looking to improve on certain points.
So my personal goal is, how do I do everything I'm doing now? How do I keep doing it and growing it without me there? So how can I build around me to replace myself? The reason is I could die. Also, I have a kid on the way, so I want to not be there and the company still move forward. And I want to take some time off to spend time with my wife and family. So I'm really working on that personally because I have a date. It's like mid-September. I gotta figure out a way to do it. Otherwise, my company's gonna suffer, or I'm gonna suffer. So that's my personal goal. My professional goal is to learn about. I'm learning more about like mindfulness. So meditation. I've read a bunch of autobiographies on Gandhi and a few other folks, Buddha, and so I'm reading books on not religion, but meditation and mindfulness to help reduce my stress and to help improve my decision-making process so that there's no emotion into it, or when there is emotion, I'm aware. That's my professional goal. Now my business goal is to 3-4x. Actually, I would say 3x our SaaS companies, all of them. We're well on our way. It's less than half a year, and we're pacing ahead of our goal. But that being said, the first half of the year is the easier half. The second half, come November, December, when consumers go on vacation, and the summertime when people go on vacation, it's tough. True. So it's going to be hard. And in hiring, again, with the personal goal of replacing myself, hiring and things like that are very, 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 very important. That's probably the highest thing on my list right now.
Yeah. Last question, do you use an app to meditate? I just recently started using Headspace.
Nice.
Do it since I have 28 days in a row now, and it's actually going better than I thought.
I can't meditate. Yeah, I can't do that, but I can breathe. I'm using breathing. I use Oak, as the app Oak, as just a breathing exercise. I do it for 5 minutes every day. I also make sure I have free time. So I just randomly, when I leave my office, I just randomly go on a walk. Nothing.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Also walking meetings. I do a lot of 10-minute meetings, but walking in the sun.
Yes, random stuff like that. Try to get out of my head, away from my computer, away from Slack and distractions. And when I'm without my phone, so one of the things that's helped me the most with this free time is I keep my phone when I'm at home after work or away from me. It's in a different room, because usually unless Mailshake or some of these things go down. First of all, if it goes down and they call me, I can't do shit about that. So they call the wrong person. But if it goes down or someone dies, it's probably the only two things I would care about that would affect me.
I think a lot of people need to get that. I'm going to let you go, man. You've been terrific. This is Back to Value. I'm just going to do an outro. So guys, again, this guy will be in Antwerp on the 7th of June for the Growth Conference. Early bird tickets are on sale. The price will go up on the 20th of April, so you still have some time, but not too much actually. And next episode of the Fireside Chat series is already Monday, and it will be Josh Vechter, another value bomb dropping guy. So make sure you tune into that one. Sujan, thank you so much for being here. It was amazing. And I will see you in June.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And then I'm excited to hang out and hang out with the attendees.
Yeah. All right, man. Bye-bye. We're going offline now.